don't know about you, but if I was one of those disciples, I might have been a little overwhelmed by that challenge that Jesus threw out. Go into all the world and tell them about me. But then I might feel a little bit of comfort because Jesus ends it by saying, surely I am with you always. And I'm sure if he could beat death, then Jesus could probably help the disciples share about him along the way. However, all of a sudden, we read in Acts that Jesus was taken back up into heaven. Now wait a minute, that doesn't really feel like you're going to be with me every step of the way. It feels like you just went back to heaven. So now what do? Well, before he ascends into heaven, we're told that he told them to go to Jerusalem and wait for the Holy Spirit. And that's where we pick up our story this morning. So the apostles returned to Jerusalem in order to obey the Lord's commands and wait there for the Spirit. What choice do they have, really? I mean, they were pretty afraid to do anything, we learned pretty quickly on after Jesus was arrested. Jesus said he's going to be with them so they could go into all the world. So they're like, all right, we'll do that. And then Jesus leaves and goes into heaven. What choice do they have but to wait for whatever Jesus is promising, because they know they can't do this on their own? And when they arrived, we're told that they joined the other Christians in the upper room, where they didn't just sit and wait on the Spirit to show up. They actually joined together in constant prayer. Listen to chapter 1, verse 14 of Acts. They all joined together constantly in prayer along with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brothers. Now, did you know that according to scholars, chapter 1 of Acts is part of what's called a summary passage? It's one of those passages that kind of lays out what the rest of the book is going to be like and what the activity of the Christian community was going to be like. So in verse 8 of chapter 1, we read that when the Holy Spirit comes, they will be his witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Now, when you read the book of Acts, the first part of the book of Acts tells the story of the disciples witnessing for Jesus in Jerusalem. The next section of Acts talks about them witnessing for Jesus in Judea and Samaria. And then the last part of Acts talks about them going to what was the ends of the earth. So it lays out what the book of Acts is really all about. And in verse 14, we're given the primary characteristics that marked their life together during that period of time: waiting and prayer. Beginning as they waited in prayer for the Spirit to arrive in that upper room. Waiting and prayer are the hallmarks of the early church. This time before Pentecost was a time of waiting and prayer, waiting for the promised Spirit and for the power needed to share who Jesus was with others. We will not have an effective witness in this world without the power of the Holy Spirit. And the way to the Holy Spirit is through prayer. So gathering to wait and pray are two of the primary activities of a faithful church. Now, waiting is not something that we are really good at. We're not good at it individually, and we're not good at it as a church because we live in an age of instant everything, right? You send somebody a text message, and if they don't reply within 5 seconds, you think they're mad at you, right? We want it right now. That's how we function. Well, you know what waiting does? Waiting reminds us of the things that we're doing in this world that are beyond our ability to accomplish on our own without the help of some other power. We can't do this under our own effort. We can't do this with our own programs. We can't even do this with our own passions. We need some other level of power to help us do what we are called to do, which is share Jesus with everyone we meet. That power comes from the Holy Spirit. So as a church and as individuals, we are called to wait and called to pray. Our waiting and praying reminds us that the gift of the Holy Spirit is not just an assured possession of the church. It is a gift that needs to be constantly asked for in prayer.